Well, thank you everyone for kind of coming today. We may get a few more people kind of join. We do have a Teams meeting as well, so we are recording. We may actually put this up on YouTube later as well. We may get a few more people come off the boat that will come in as well. If anybody needs to leave, feel free. We're not going to force you to stay around here for the whole duration. Just a few little reminders if you can, if you haven't already. There is a sign-in sheet for the AGM. And we do have to record kind of attendance at AGMs. It just helps with our society's filing as well as things like gaming grants. And we are also doing a raffle tonight. So we are raffling a hoodie, two scarves, and a Real Madrid shirt as well. So there's prizes. If you leave early, you don't. You're not involved. So maybe actually, I don't think put your names on there, but receipt. Okay, so before we get into the formalities, I think most people based in the audience here probably been to the AGM before. We have a few formalities to go through just in terms of reviewing last year's kind of minutes, approving this year's agenda. Before we get into that, we want to do just a couple of little kind of announcements before we get into formal presentation. So first one, I think most people here know of Burns, or know Burns kind of on the island, but sadly Burns Jennings passed away about a month ago. You know, he was detrimental to the founding of the club, and I think one probably tested this as well inside the club with him. You know, without Burns, we wouldn't have a lot of the programs that we have today, whether that's the club itself from a foundational perspective, whether it's some of the facilities that we've got, the grass fields, field, as well as some of the programs like academies, as well as the adult program as well. You know, I'll maybe get Morgan to say a few words as well, but you know, without Burns, this club would be here as well. Some other folks like Morgan as well. And we did actually recognize Burns a couple of years ago. We created these Founders Awards, and Burns was the original recipient of that as well. We are later this year going to do something more formal to acknowledge Burns and kind of make it more of a permanent memorial for him as well. So once we firm that up, we'll kind of send some details out around that. We're hoping to do something in around this. More, I don't know if anything you want to add, just kind of.
No, I guess just.
Sorry to put you on the spot.
Yeah, it's okay. The funny thing, I guess, or the most interesting thing is that Burns and I met in 2006. He was the first person that I met on Bowen Island when I moved here in 2005, 2006. And within a year, our kids were like 2 and 3, 2 and 4. And there were no lights. There was obviously no turf field. The grass field had wooden posts on it. Lee would probably remember that. And anyway, we actually sat upstairs roughly 18 years ago and thought, you know what, we really need to do something here. You know, part of it was self-preservation because we didn't want to go off island with our kids. You know, because we had a feeling our kids were going to play soccer because we love soccer so much. And so we met upstairs right here, and we formed Bowen Island Sports Society. The idea was initially to ensure that we had lights more than anything was the focus. Because we felt like there was nothing to do after 3 o'clock in the afternoon here, and so that was the kind of the focus. And then an opportunity created itself for the turf to be built through something that was happening through the municipality. They got a grant, and so Burns, Andy and Neil showed me a letter that he had written to council, and he demanded all the council people respond to it. And it was quite astonishing because they all responded and they took it seriously. And so it goes to show the kind of the impact that he had. He was a long Bowen, they're really well known. All these councillors who were running for election had to respond to this and give their reasons. And then it turned into a whole bunch of people. And a lot of, it was an interesting. For those of you who remember it, I couldn't go to a party without it being discussed. And then there was the pro-turfers and the anti-turfers at every party that we went to. And I know that Burns and I would disappear every party because we were basically like lobbying for the turf field and all these social events and stuff for a number of months. There was even a huge article in Vancouver Life magazine called Turf Wars. So going on and made Vancouver Life magazine. It was a big deal. You go to the barber shop and there'd be a petition whether it was for the turf or against the turf. And really Burns was a massive part of that. He and I ended up working with the national teams together for 10 years, traveled around the world together, and raised our kids together. And really appreciate the fact that the club and Andy and Neil have done that, and has known Burns a long time. Lee has known Burns a long time. So appreciate very much. The club was very, very dear to his heart. And Cole and Dallin, his two sons, both played for the club for a number of years. He coached a number of kids on this island and stuff. So thank you to the club for acknowledging it. We are going to be trying to do something more, as Neil said, in regards to the field. I think it would be appropriate to see if we can get the field named after him. And but that's something that we'll look at with the municipality, the school district. So thank you. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Morgan. Okay. So very quickly, just in terms of an agenda for today, we'll go through a few formalities pretty quick. We've almost got it down pretty bad at this stage. We're going to establish quorum based on the attendance here. We're going to approve the agenda, which I'll bring up in a second or two. We'll approve last year's meeting minutes. Then the bulk of it will be spent. We do a yearly report. It used to be our GM report, but now it's kind of a collaborative effort. So it's just our yearly report for the club. And then we'll go through our financials, and then we'll round it up with the next year's board member election. So before we get into just the formalities of the quorum, I wanted to kind of just do, Anita put this over as just a little bit of an overview of this year. I'm not going to read through everything, it's all in there, but very quickly, I just want to kind of introduce the boards. Most people probably know them, but I just want to kind of do it at least that only do it, and we'll put it on to YouTube as well. And so I'm Neil Bird, I'm the president of the club here from a board perspective, also represent the operations side from TV. And we got Boris took over this year as kind of treasurer. I took over from Kevin Mann, who's been doing that since 2021, I believe, as well. Lee's taken over as kind of secretary last year as well. And then we have members at large, which is Andy, who's taken on a lot of the kind of creative director role within the club this past year. Highlighted a lot of that this year. We've got Rebecca, who's also a member at large as well. And then Anne's been a member at large for this past year as well. And then finally, we have Anita. And Anita, she hasn't quite joined yet, but you all know Anita, she's our club coordinator as well as kind of GM, working alongside myself. I look after the soccer side, but she looks after all of the administration. One thing I wanted to kind of do before we kind of hop in was it's Anne's last year with the board as well. So we want to say a little bit of a thank you. Anne's been treasurer since 2021 here, which was an interesting time for the club. It was right in the middle of COVID, which was a big challenge, particularly financially. Very difficult to run programs during that period, but Anne was able to kind of get us through, along with the board and our operations folks, make sure the club was still financially viable through COVID, and kind of beyond as well. Some of the other things Anne's done the last few years is working with the Bowen Island Community Foundation and getting our Founders Award that's out there, which is an annual scholarship award that we do every year, recognizing somebody who's kind of gone through our programs, who's now at university age or school age, and just providing a scholarship. And then just every year kind of going through the gaming grants as well, and she kept us on track this year to kind of get it in as well, so very much appreciated. So Anne, if you could come up, and we got a little gift for you as well.
Beautiful. Oh my God.
It's beautiful.
Oh, beautiful. Thank you. Thank you.
But we want to get new board members in, so we got to show them what you get when you do your time.
Thank you.
You gotta get that up and check though.
We used to have board meetings on Tyler Jones's boat, just saying. So I'm just saying,
Who's got a vote?
we need somebody with a boat.
We talk to our treasurer, maybe. We got a vote.
25 maybe.
We'll take that coming out of the video.
Alrighty, and then just a formal thing, we'll get through this pretty quick. So we're going to call the meeting to order. So we'll call it 6:15. Just need somebody to second calling of the order. So I think I see Rebecca with her hand up. I'm going to go through the bylaws. So this just relates to the AGM, when we have to have it, the quorum that we need, kind of minimum size and things like that. So essentially we need to have an AGM in March every year. We need to have at least 5 members in good standing that's outside of the board. So I believe we do have a quorum here of non-board members. And then the last was just about when we can call general meetings as well. So can I have somebody to propose a confirmation of quorum? Anybody can do it. Somebody second?
Sure.
Anne had her hand up first. It's good to volunteer for these things because you get immortalized in the meetings minutes for next year as well. So. Okay, in terms of meeting note taker, Lee as our secretary is going to take notes for this year. In terms of agenda, can we have somebody to propose approval of the agenda? First. We have a seconder. Excellent. We do have the last year's minutes as well around somewhere. Lee, I think she's got them.
Everybody good with that?
Yeah.
Everybody good?
Looks very awesome.
They're very patient.
Okay, it's on the old template though, so. Any issues with last year's minutes? Okay, we have somebody to approve last year's minutes? Or propose last year's minutes? Lars, okay, so second?
Second.
Jason got his hand up.
That'll be fast.
Alrighty. I think that's it from a formality perspective.
Any unfinished business with the 2024 AGM?
Alrighty. Okay, thank you. Alrighty, so next part is our kind of yearly report. So we're going to do this in combination with Andy. I'm going to take a little bit of the start, go through some of the kind of programming updates from last year, do a little bit of an update on what we've seen so far this year, look at logistics, equipment, and he's going to go through the marketing. We got a few things around events and stuff like that, and then we can do Q&A at the very end as well. I'm sorry, actually, I don't have the financials on the agenda here, but it's part of the deck as well. And sorry, there's about 40 slides, so we'll try to make this pretty quick. Anita went crazy. Okay, a lot of them are just very kind of brief. So in terms of youth programs, start with Mini House. We got the numbers up here. Fairly typical of what we've seen over kind of past years. We do see a little bit of a fall, or one of the reasons why I got a fall off in fall compared to spring is that's when our U8s move off into actual new programs. And it's fairly new for this year. Morgan, I don't know whether you've seen this before, but we've now started putting U8 into the league this year. It's a little bit of a different format. It's actually it's one team, but you do 2 four-side groups, which is a little bit of a challenge because it means you actually need a bigger squad. You need kind of like 12 kids to do that because you're playing essentially two groups. This year's been good because we had a large group of that age group. I think we had about 16 kids at U8, and so it's perfect for doing it. Next year we got a small group at that age group, so we may not actually go into the U8 youth next year. Say that again. It's actually we just play with West Ham. It's actually split between North Ham and West Ham, and then we just play. It's managed through the North Shore Youth Soccer Association, but we just play with West Ham. And sorry, in terms of this year, I do have some notes as well. This year we're seeing strong registrations for spring. I don't think we're quite up to last year, but we're pretty close. We're actually at 49 registrations. One other thing we did this year was our U8 girls last year actually split out. And Andy's actually done a development program for the girls starting last year. So they would have been last year's U8s. This year they'll be U9s. And we're actually keeping them in a mini house program for spring as well. So that's an additional 12 kids that we have there. So we got 49 plus 12, so we've roughly 60 kids registered already for mini house in spring this year as well. Starting to see a lot of interest at that U5 age group. We've even been approached for starting 2-year-olds.
You said you'd come back for that one.
Yeah. We do. Typically, we start 3-year-olds, 4-year-olds for the U5 programs. Indigo, a lot of people know Indigo through kind of BCC, and she's looking to start something even younger at age 2. She wants to try her hand at it. We're happy to help her and support her with it. But the earlier we can kind of get them into the programs, the better it does. Also, that's something we're looking to kind of do this year. We may add them as part of the U5s just to kind of get a bit of a forum in terms of coaches and players, and then maybe break them out later in the year or something like that as well. Okay. In terms of the older kids for the North Shore Youth Soccer Association, so this year we had around 105 registrations, and this is actually across both the North Shore Youth Soccer Association that goes from U8 up to U12, as well as the BC CSL, which is the U13s. And for anybody that doesn't know, we only go as far as U13 on the island, which is 9-a-side. When you go to U14, you have a full 11-side field, which fortunately our field isn't big enough for that. So this year we had 8 teams altogether, 7 on the North Shore Youth Soccer Association side, and then 1 on the BCCSL. BCCSL tends to play a little bit more around the Lower Mainland, or potentially. This year they were mainly on the North Shore though as well. So. Next year we anticipate this to actually drop a little bit for a few reasons. One is our U13s this year, which was managed by Lee. We had a big group, there was 16 kids in there. It was a mixed group, boys and girls. So they're dropping out this year, so it's a big group of 16 kids moving out. As I mentioned, the U7s this year is actually quite a small group, and so they'll be transitioning to U8. They likely won't have enough kids to actually run full U8 side, because of that dual 4-side program. So that means we'll have 1 less team that pops full up to fill that U13 spot that's dropping. The other challenge we had this year is our U12 girls are dropping out this year. They were really tight this year. They had 10 players, and they supplemented a little bit with the U13 girls, and they kind of came down and played with them every now and again. We've had a couple of kids leave the club as well, which has brought them down in terms of numbers. So unfortunately, they can't run a team here on the island next year. About half of them have gone and done trials for West Ham already, and that's the plan for most of this year. So unfortunately, we won't have a U13 girls team.
Sorry, I'm asking a question.
Yeah.
There's no room on the boys' side for the girls to join.
Potentially, yeah. I think there's 13 on the boys' side. So there is one of the new things that's been introduced to the BCCSL is squad sizes, mids and maxes. I think a max has always been there, so we can do a max of 16. But you do actually need now, it's just introduced some coming years, a minimum of 11 at the U13 nation at the 9-side group. But that is a potential option. And the other potential option is if we've got kids that don't want to go across to the North Shore for the U13s, we could potentially do play down forms if we were stuck. It's a little bit difficult. Like we got 13 already on the U13 boys, so it's a big enough squad. It's a little bit hard to justify play down forms unless it's somebody who is new to something. Yeah. Okay. Just moving on then. Just finally, I kind of mentioned a little bit, but this is our U13s, this is our graduation this year as well. So Lean's group kind of helped out by Cam and Margaret. We coached them all the way from when you started coaching this group.
These are 9, the first year they played league.
Yeah, I probably may have seen them before that as well. So seeing them right way through the club from U9 all the way up to U13.
Speaking of you too, parents taught class in the gym with a lot of these kids came out and did it.
Yeah.
Sorry.
And then we had Ben and Jean as well, kind of supplementing from the manager side as well. So sad to see them leave. I think a lot of the kids went and did the tryouts in West Van earlier this month. So the mix of, I don't know if anyone's trying to do one or be just a mix of two. Anybody go to North Van?
We're looking at Kellen and Wyatt Shell to go up to one.
Does anybody go to North Van or is it all just West Van?
Carson knows West Ham.
Cool. You're not coaching anyone?
No, I tried to get Ed Malinsky, but my coach is screwed up, and I can't wait for him to score 6 goals against us on Saturday. Because then I'm gonna tell them they screwed up.
And then as you mentioned here, next year we'll actually only have one group in the BCCSL, so it'll be my group that'll move to the U13 boys next year as well. Okay, moving on. So in terms of the academy, last year we had about 50 kind of registrations in the spring academy. Last fall we had around 19. So one of the things we've kind of, we've kind of almost encouraged ourselves as a club. At the younger age groups, we're seeing good engagement from an academy perspective. The older age groups, what's starting to happen is kids are going to West Van for academy. We had a challenge a couple of years ago where when the kids went to do the tryouts after finishing at U13 level, they did a tryout and you're only in there for an hour or maybe 2 hours. It's very difficult to assess kids for that short. So what we started to try to encourage is to kind of go into the academies and West Van, let the coaches sort of see you a little bit more frequently in there. We probably did it a little bit too aggressively. We found out a lot of the kids went in fall. The idea was more for springtime and allow us to get our coach in the next season and get familiar with coaches. But that's where we've kind of seen a bit of a drop off in terms of registrations. The other thing we're seeing is there's a lot of competition out there. Particularly in spring. The baseball season starts up, and hockey's starting up as well. Seeing a lot of kids now. Ice hockey's still running at that time as well. Seeing a lot of kids now doing more off-island kind of sports as well. So it's definitely a competitive market, but we've got to try our best to try and see if we can get more kids back into it. The good thing is that on the mini house side, there's big numbers. We just got to make sure that we keep hold of those kids and keep them to what we have. We did a summer camp last year. It was around the first week in August. We did basically two half days. Younger group in the morning, older group in the afternoon. So Megan Mountsoul said does a lot of work on the North Shore as well around the Lower Mainland. She's primarily based in North Shore girls kind of organisation. She came over for the week and kind of ran the program for us. And we also had Will and Abby, Anne's daughter, kind of helped us out from a youth coaching kind of perspective as well. It was great fun. Had about 33 kids split between the two groups as well. Ready? In terms of adults, so good numbers last year. So I think good numbers on last year, the year before. We changed our programming structure as well. We kind of more formally defined 3 seasons. Spring, summer, fall. Did them as officially 10-week sessions with 3 nights a week. And we introduced a kind of annual membership, which was kind of pay once and you get everything. And it was ridiculously cheap. I think it's less than $1 price if you end up actually going to everything. 3 nights a week is probably a little bit much, but it made a really good value. So in that last year, we got 37 registrations through the annual program. In addition to that, we also got 44 registrations for people who just show up maybe for one season, maybe only sign up for spring, maybe only sign up for fall. With our registration, actually gives you summer for free as well. But in total, we had was that 81 registrations. So numbers are starting to kind of get back up there for adults. The challenge we find is the consistency. Getting everybody there consistently out, week in, week out, to be able to do something more and like get back to like the league. But we're hoping to kind of do something, maybe a blend this year, or do pick up for maybe 6 weeks of the 10-week session and do like a 4-week mini tournament. So, last year we had Byron and Boris kind of helping out in terms of the adult programming. This year we've actually recruited, Byron's going to help, he's going to step down a little bit. But we have got Matt Smith and Connor. Connor kind of helping out as well, just on a nightly basis as well. And we have started, our official start is next week, March 31st. But we did a little benefit for anybody who registered early. We actually started it 3 weeks ago. Been running 1 or 2 nights a week, depending on the weather, and been good turnouts on most nights. Alrighty. So last year we kind of brought back in the women's soccer night as well, running 1 night a week. Wasn't as formal as we did with the adult. I can't recall when we started exactly, but it's kind of towards late spring or summertime as well. But this year we're looking to replicate the adult program, so do 3 10-week sessions. We're offering an annual membership for that as well as the seasonal ones as well. So that's starting up next week as well. So if you know anybody who might be interested, let them know that's kind of anything about. And finally, on the adult programming, we've got the 50 plus. So Hagen Ainsworth, it's going to really help us kind of get this one back up and running again next year. A little bit like the women's program, it kind of had fits and starts last year, whereas this year we're working with Hagen to kind of more formally do the 3 kind of seasons.
Usually, we put a medic on the sideline. There will be negative,
So I have heard Dr. Downey is looking to potentially join. I think she's looking to join either the women's or the adult. So I don't know if I don't know if I learned that age. See if you can find a doctor that's 50 plus that's interested.
No.
And then finally, just on the it's not really 50 plus, but we did the June Golden Boot Memorial Tournament again last year. I think this is the 3rd year that we've ran it. I ran that in there early, it was late June this year as well. So again, this is another annual event, just to commemorate June and his family, and the family kind of showed up again this year as well. So a lot of that is folks who are either on the island, but the broader community as well across the Lower Mainland who do June through soccer and elsewhere as well. They come over. It's a great event, so if you're around, definitely kind of come out to that as well. Alrighty. In terms of kind of logistics, so field maintenance this year, we had some good progress in terms of both the grass field and the AstroTurf field. Let's start with the grass. So this year, it's been fairly consistently mowed this year. Moved away from, there was a contractor who was doing the mowing on the field. A little bit hit and miss, but the community have now started actually doing it themselves. A few hiccups here. We had one at the start of the season where there was equipment failure, but since then we've actually seen some good consistency around the grass being mowed. They did seed it and put fertilizer down at some point in the fall as well. So definitely starting to do kind of more regular maintenance. We'll start looking in terms of getting it aerated this spring as well. It needs to be aerated and rolled, just based on it hasn't been done for a few years as well. In terms of the AstroTurf field, there was a few issues in the last couple of years since the new field went in. A few of the seams had started to come apart, some of the fill had started getting kind of patted down. But last fall we were able to actually work with the community. They brought over, I think it's AstroTurf is the name of the company, but they actually added new fill, they groomed turf, And they actually fixed some of the teams. So if you're down there, you'll notice a few patches that have actually been fixed in there as well. Took a while to get it done, but fortunately we were able to kind of get it done in the last minute as well. Beyond that, then we also got new nets on the AstroTurf field. So both the big ones, the 8x6 foot nets, as well as the small ones, 3x4 foot, new nets on both of them as well. So you see kids down in the field hanging out of them.
Please don't.
Yes. For their own safety.
Yeah, 100%. So the league has 75.
So,
Who actually plays on grass?
so
Everyone plays on grass.
you mean us or more broadly
Yeah,
around?
my son's 17. He's still playing. So who actually
Yeah.
plays on grass?
So we, on Ireland, we still play grass from U11 to U13. Yeah, because the AstroTurf field isn't big enough. Yeah. So we have to move on to the grass. It's been a challenge this year, and the previous year, January's been a washout or whiteout. We haven't played on turf. My group, for instance, haven't played on turf in a couple of years on the mainland as well. We're primarily on grass fields, which is kind of hit and miss. I think once kids start moving more into the U14, moving particularly up to Big 2, Big 1, that's where it's all probably be. That's good too, isn't it? Yeah. I think Div 3 tends to be put more on the grass fields. Yeah, just because there is a limited space on the turf fields. But yeah, definitely the higher divisions, and I'm sure it's the same on Burnaby, they get priority. So just in terms of kind of governance from the club as well, so we actually went through our renewal of our quality soccer provider this fall as well. So Morgan, so 3 or 4 years ago, went through the initial QSP application. We were one of the first folks to actually get it. And I know there's been a lot of changes since then as well, based on some of the feedback that we provided, and when Morgan went through that as well. So myself and Anita kind of went through the new process, and there's a lot of new policies we had to put in place for the club. The application process has changed a little bit, but we got everything in by the deadline December last year. We got confirmation earlier this year that we were approved by BC Soccer, and in March, we're actually officially announced again as being renewed. So that is a requirement for any youth organisation to be able to provide soccer programming, and it is required. Kind of associated to that, one of the requirements is around coaching certification. So it's been a couple of years since we did coaching certification, but we actually have one upcoming next weekend, next Saturday, April 5th. I think we got about 12 coaches being certified at various different levels. I know when I did it last, we did it here on Ireland as well, and because it was the first time we were doing it, we had a lot of coaches. The challenge we're finding now is that because everybody's at different timing in terms of their certification, we just don't have the numbers to kind of run it on Ireland. So the last few years, we've had to have coaches go North Van, West Van to try to do it. This year, what we've actually been able to do, all 4 programs, so Active Start, Fundamentals, Learn to Train, Soccer for Life. We're actually running all 4 coaching certification parallel. So Joe's coming out again. He's going to do, like, the younger ones are only about 2 hours, so they'll take the first 2 hours, where the Soccer for Life is a 4-hour section, so they'll stick around and do that as well. So we're doing that this Saturday, which kind of helps with our QSP, because we do have to file information about coaching certification for all of our coaches and managers.
One thing that you could actually might want to look into or consider was a learning facilitator for the club.
Yeah.
A number of years ago, and when we were in that kind of in this position, Burns went out and got the learning facilitator ready through BC Soccer. So as a result, he was able to certify coaches on island because he was certified. So he didn't have to bring in Joe or through BC piece of soccer. That'd be a big difference.
Yeah.
Because we're everything like in school and on island, right? So I think you were in some of those, right? Starts.
This was my first.
Yeah. There you go, right? So, and so that's just something to consider.
Yeah.
Is that you then essentially go get certified on.
Yeah, no, it's a good idea, actually.
They just have to go out and get their learning facilitator. So I mean, anybody that has like soccer to play, right? It's kind of like you're going. It's not as hard as a C license. C license, you're gonna have to put in a lot of work. But a learning facilitator, you know, that for this level, for actually starting fundamentals, would be fairly straightforward to get. And then you have somebody essentially with the club that's your LF.
Yeah.
And then it's in-house, so that every time you meet somebody, they could obviously do it one-on-one. Maybe have like 3 or 4 people that you get there at the start. You can get it done.
Yeah, no, I think that's a great idea. Actually, I think it might be interesting to look at that. You know, because what we've had, and I think I got the referee one come up as well. You know, the amount of coaches that have coached us because we have it here.
Yeah.
Because they can't, other clubs can't get it, so they're actually approaching us to come here to do their certification as well. Yeah, so we could potentially, you know, bring coaches from off island as well. Yeah, could be a money maker. But you know, our thought, we've actually, I think we've posted 25. Maybe I'll go to actually now. I'll come to it in a second, but we've got the referee certification happening the week after. I think it's on the 12th or the 13th. With Megan, we got 25 kids coming, of which I think there's less than 10 Bowen kids. All the rest of them are from off island because they can't get in. And the way we see it is that like this is for our benefit as a club in the soccer community. And we've got a lot of games on the mainland where we haven't had referees this year. We just haven't been able to kind of get referees. So the more we can certify, you know, whether the Bowen kids are off island, I think better for the community as well. So yeah. Alrighty, and moving on, just a little bit here, just about there was a change this year in the criminal records check process. It actually makes it a little bit easier. There's a little bit more work on our end, maybe just to kind of figure out the process. But for anybody that has to go through it, new coaches or anybody that has to renew, the actual process is a lot easier, kind of moving forward as well. And then lastly, we did the first aid training. We did 2 sessions, about a week apart, October 28th and 3rd with Amanda again this year. So I think there's a bunch of people for renewals. Then we had a bunch of new coaches that went through first aid training as well. Alrighty, and then yeah, as I mentioned on the referee certification, so we do have the session on the 23rd with I think about 25 kids. You know, just want a big shout out to all the kids that you know did referee first this year. Great commitment, you know, Will, Abby, you know, Piper, Saxon, Zoe, Justin, Henry. You know, they're there, hail, rain, or shine. You know, out there helping support them. Without them, it's very hard to run soccer. Yes, you can get parents, yes, you can get coaches to referee, but it makes such a big impression to kids, you know, when you've got official referees out there, when we go online fields, when it looks professional, it just makes it a much better experience for the kids. So we are trying to encourage as many of our kids that have come up now to kind of do the referee certification and be the next ones to actually referee for future years as well. Well, you know, so if you know anybody that might be interested, in particularly any of the girls on the female side, the big challenge we have is we generally have more boys teams than girls teams. Boys plays on Saturday, girls plays on Sunday. So for boys games on island, most of our boy referees are already playing themselves and availability is kind of tough. So we rely heavily on the girls side. So definitely we need kind of more girls to get certified as well to kind of help with that competition. How are we doing? Food? So much food. Drinks or anything?
Or water.
Good. Perfect.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I got lucky.
Yeah, so definitely, you know, if anybody's interested, it might be a little bit late because there is some homework that kids have to do. Oh, sorry, I believe it's 12 is and you have to be, I think it's 2 years older than the group you're refereeing as well. So a 12-year-old could do U10. Or a 12-year-old could do U11, so they're 10-year-olds. It might be 2-year rest. You know, and we didn't offer this out to everybody, as well as referee certification. Like, it takes a certain type of kid to be a good referee. You know, kids that are very knowledgeable, kids that are confident, talking to adults in particular. You know, some kids get a little bit intimidated. You know, they don't blow whistles, they're not loud enough. So we do try to kind of coach certain kids into this kind of track as well. You know, Henry's a perfect example. He started this year, really knowledgeable, really confident. You know, he looks the part. You know, they're the kids we really want to help encourage them and, you know, do it as a little bit of a click for those kids, because there's good money in it. There's I recall, is it $25 we do for the small games and $40 for the big games. So if you do a couple of them on a Saturday, it's good money for it as well. Alrighty, on the equipment side, and not much to kind of add here. Last year we a lot of budget spent on equipment. We had a lot of coaches here to kind of do, so hopefully this year it actually comes down a little bit to be itself out. We did actually purchase some additional merchandise, kind of use some of the fund that we kind of had to kind of do that. Now that we've got it, and we have our web store up and running, a lot of that would be self-fulfilling, and kind of keep the funds for purchasing future kind of gear as well. And this year we are looking, the big purchase we're looking to do is buy some new tents. Several of them are kind of broken, just with issues with wind this year, as well as some of the benches we're looking to kind of purchase new ones as well. There, you know, with the weather that we've got here, with them just being stored in the sheds, they don't last more than 2 or 3 years as well. So there's some of the bigger purchases that I think we're doing because of anything else.
What about the seating? Were you talking about the dimensions?
Yeah, so we did look at that last year. Adam was kind of helping us kind of source some vendors for that. We still may do that. We were looking at the quick roll shelters, put them on the field. Adam kind of looked at some of them at Denver and North Van, and they don't look right. They don't weather very well. And the guy here approached the beauty over there, and they said it's tough to do them as well. I don't know whether that would stop us from going forward with it, but I think we just need to sit down as a group and figure out is that the path forward that we still want to do. I think there's big benefit to it. We'll have some of the more semi-permanent there. So kids gear, adult gear is right. We don't have to be a formal group on it, but I think we probably will see. You're going to go to something.
I 100% could. No, we talked about it before, but there wasn't like enough room on the sidelines. We had to start with fences.
I think we got room because we actually figured out that because it's being installed on concrete, you don't need as heavy a foundation.
Yeah.
Like the foundations we were looking for if you were putting it into, say, grass.
Yeah.
I think essentially we can just drill down, put the footings. But we'll. Well, if we talk to Andy, or next thing is the clubhouse, over the floor as well. So.
That's how they're building up there.
Yeah.
Wait for the running place.
Squats is right. What's wrong with this clubhouse?
So the other thing, Andy will speak. Actually, do you want to?
Yeah, I mean, we obviously need to revitalize our kits every so often. The kits go in and out of production runs. So we also ran into a situation this year where our previous supplier, Cambridge, weren't going to be providing some kits anymore. So we started around found a few options, of which Macy's was the best to go forward with. And as part of moving ahead with Macy's, we've actually signed a partnership with Adidas as well. So now we're full partners. That will bring cost savings to the club. It also gives us more flexibility on the order and additional partnerships. Everything we're doing at the moment in terms of partnerships, we're trying to find value for the players or field members themselves. So we're hoping to be able to work with Adi a bit on match tickets for night parks, big benefits to going that way. And the other thing it unlocked was a fully customized kit, which with the savings across everything else, when you include shorts and socks, comes in at a pretty similar price to what they've been paying year on year. But this is the kit that nobody else is going to have. It's very much Bowen and rock aesthetic. And again, we're looking to do everything we can to really elevate the kits. I didn't want the wearing the playing for.
Yeah, and we're doing both the short sleeve and long sleeve as well as adult size as well. Andy will talk to it, but you can order that online as well.
It's the first thing I'm seeing it as well. So.
Yeah, and actually, and I think you mentioned as well, but one of the things with Macy's and Adidas, with the partnership we've done, is I think we get a 10% discount at Macy's.
Yeah.
So for any soccer kit, you can go in, say you're a BIFC member, and you get 10%. And then for Adidas as well, I think we also get 10%.
So and there'll be discount days where we can go into the store and have pretty sizable discounts for this as well. So yeah, should give more benefits.
Alrighty. Okay, Andy, you're up. Do you want me to drive, or do you want to?
I think it's just the
Yeah, just or down or.
you don't need to back nail, we'll be back. Those who know me, especially on a football pitch, will know that I love the sound of my own voice, so apologies for that, but I'll try and be as quick as possible. But we did want to give you a better look at some of the work that we're doing behind the scenes. We are really fortunate in where we're at with the club. We've got a set of facilities and a picturesque location that Premier League clubs would die for. But as Neil was going through a little bit earlier, one or two kits can be the difference between a program being able to go forward or not. Like literally, if we go from 8 kits to 7 kits, that can mean we're not able to put players in the league. So it's really important we get our message out there. So we're doing everything we can to use all the powers at our fingertips to do that. We've been doing really well this year. Our web traffic is up by 30% across the board. We're seeing huge numbers across social media because we've been able to just focus on the likes of Instagram and Facebook a lot more. That's not to say that there wasn't already good stuff being done out there, but just by taking those channels a little bit more seriously, we've been able to make massive boosts. And every person that's coming to the site increases the chances of us being able to get sign up, and that ultimately allows us to put programs together. Kind of at the back end, well, throughout last year and then into this year, we've obviously done the rebrand, moving from the old logo into the new one. I think with any rebrand, you're always going to have a little bit of a kind of bedding in period where the new logo looks a little bit weird, it takes a bit of getting used to. I think this has been fully kind of taken on board now, and it represents our identity. We've rolled that out across the website. It's now across everything that we do, and I think it's something that went really well. I think if you look at our social media, if I our website now, there's a very common theme to everything that we do. Bowen FC is very much an entity now.
And to apologize to my brother for tearing the Spirit Fawcett poster hard to get the first logo down.
Can we get that in writing so we can have that to say? Well,
that's where they first logo.
I love that. So obviously we updated the site. I think it's starting to look really good now. A big part of everything we do is making sure that people get there, don't have to go through pages to sign up. Like the last thing we want is to be complicated. So the main thing we'd ask for there is if you are having trouble signing up your kids, let us know. Let us dive into what's making that more difficult. I think, judging by the way it's worked this year, I think we're not having too much drop off there, but it would be something that would be really valuable to find out if there's problems. As Neil mentioned before as well, obviously we launched the store this year, which is how we've done kit ordering. I think that's probably removed a couple of levels of challenges as well, but again, we, just like running the site, can't see all that. So if there's anything that you can feed back to us, we'd love to hear it.
Previously, we used all our managers for tracking spreadsheets for their own individual teams, whereas now, we'll still get managers.
Across social, there's a couple of reasons for this. We've looked to obviously try and get as many people through to sign up.
make everybody on the island aware of everything that we do. But also, it's great as a club just to build a little bit of community online. Obviously, we live in an age now where, you know, real life and what goes on digitally is somewhat merged. And we're really lucky that we've got Jeff sat at the back, who's been taking photos throughout the last 18 months, 2 years, and does an absolutely phenomenal job. That makes everything we do look so polished. You know, and I think, like, I'm a kid that grew up, or I was a kid that grew up playing football, and I look back at photos I had of me when I was like 8, 9 years old. It's fantastic to be able to put that. It's great that we're able to provide these like really strong images that people 30 years from now will be able to remember when they played for this club for. We launch newsletters, which hopefully you're not fed up of getting bombarded with them, but we do try and keep to a minimum. But we've seen that these are probably one of the most successful ways of getting people to know about things that are going on at the club. Click-through is really strong. Again, if there's any suggestions on the kind of information that's in there that you're getting, we would love to hear it. But it's just another opportunity to tell, you know, when sign-ups are due, when there's opportunities to sign up, get that message across as well. Obviously, we launched the merchandise. Clearly, we didn't have enough models available, so I had to jump in and put some on. But this is another bonus. Like, again, it's all part of building like that collective spirit on the island and getting people quite to represent. It's great to see people around here wearing it. Neil mentioned before as well, but it's actually funded by charitable donations that we get from EA in the first place. So anything that we create with this, it's kind of a no risk for us. We get to put the logo out there. We get to see people walking around the cove wearing it, and then any money that comes back from it is straight back into our coffers and allows us to start looking at how we can offer other programs or potentially bring prices down. Print, obviously, the Undercurrent's a big part of the island, so we make sure that we're featuring in there. We'll do the ads. We've got another one coming up for the spring season. Soon. Today? Yeah. Love that. And then the other thing we're doing as well is just trying to build a relationship with the Undercurrent so that articles like this and the EA one that Neil just mentioned, we don't pay anything for, but it's another way of getting our message out to people. The key to everything we're doing is trying to hit as many different ways of getting to people as we can. Sponsorships. Sponsorships aren't really a massive win for us. You know, we run into a few problems. We don't really slap in alcohol sponsors on kids' jerseys. We don't believe in anything like that. But even when we've worked with the pub last year, the money that it takes to put a logo on a shirt ends up using the majority of what the sponsorship revenue brings in. What we are looking to do is build more partnerships this year that offer value back to our players, volunteers, parents, etc. So one of the things we're looking at the moment is you play adult soccer, you go for a beer afterwards, that beer's discounts. We'll be looking at similar things for weekends, activities to play games. We don't believe that this is necessarily like a huge revenue stream that you need to chase, but it is something that provides extra value back to our members. Events, we've tried to get a lot more involved in that as well over the last 2 years or so. Obviously, we showed up at Pride. Colin does a phenomenal job with the round boat race that we've been getting involved in. We showed up at Bowfest. We had activities for kids on Canada Day. We did the Festival of Trees. We have our annual volunteers event. And then I'm really lucky that I've managed to build a career in sports marketing, and that brings up opportunities every once in a while. When I worked with EA to rebrand them from FIFA to EAFC this year, or the last year, we found ways to take some of what we were giving to FIFA and put it back into grassroots football. And one of the benefits of that was that we worked with UEFA on a program called FC Futures, which took us around the world building new pitches, making soccer more available to different communities. And part of that was working with UEFA themselves on a series of coaching regimes that would then be rolled out both in the video game and in real life. So we took the U12s, U13s to to EA's pitch over in Burnaby. We had very serious coaches from UEFA come out, did an incredible job working with Lee and some of the other coaches to give them hands-on training advice. And then that will be used as a collaboration with EA, UEFA, and ourselves to put some of those moments into the game. We've got a short video here from the day, which just gives a little bit of an idea of what happened. How do I get volume now, Neil? We have to share it. It's okay, we can just post it later, right? I guess it's going to play quiet. Looks fantastic. Yeah, these are the coaches that we had out with us. Anecdotally, one of them was Paul Gascoigne and Alan Shearer's youth field when they were at Gateshead back in the day. Really fun day for the kids. You know, I think even just having the opportunity to go out to Burnaby, was obviously fun for them. But then we had bespoke kits waiting for them. They're at grounds. We had pizza and chance to play video games afterwards. All the things I think about really. Now, if there's anything you can think of from the day that is memorable.
It's really exciting. The city, the coaches were big fit athletes. Telling them how to play football was great.
Software.
So what's right?
Like, yes, you're like doing special software, right? But they should be how to work like.
It's the game, essentially, and then there were YouTube videos that we used to demonstrate some of the drills.
Yeah, so all the drills live on the website where you can kind of go through and work through it, and then they're also kind of playable in the game as well. It's kind of do these shooting drills on a video game and then go and do them in real life.
Yeah, we could literally show them on the iPad how it's supposed to go. And
He was bringing in coaches about this, you know, basically it's bringing in things like that.
Great job, Colin.
so angry.
Intense.
So yeah, just a few of the wins and opportunities. So as I said, we've had a dramatic increase in web and social media traffic. We've launched a new range of club merchandise. We relaunched the website, modernized it, and made it easy to sign up. We secured the long-term future of kit design and production to IDE and Macy's. And we've focused on more prominence with the Bowen community with getting ourselves out to events. A couple of big opportunities. You know, obviously we rely massively on volunteers across this. Everything we do, and we're thankful for everybody that helps. But we currently don't have any major sponsorships. So if anybody knows of anybody that might be interested in getting more involved in that, we'd love to hear. And also, one of the big things that we don't have is somebody to kind of focus more daily on, like running events. So again, anybody with any skills that would like to get involved, we would have nothing but thanks and would be welcome to join the team. I've had a great time kind of working with Neil and Nita and the board on everything that we do here. So it's a really fun opportunity. And I think that was all I had, Neil.
All right, thanks, Andy. Thanks for the Hi, cars. Right, you okay to drive? Yeah, I think so. Okay, all right. Hi, those of you who don't know me, my name is Boris Nikic. I took over, trying to fill the big shoes from Anne over the last 12 months to take on some of the financial stuff, and I'm still getting up to speed, so I'm still relying on Anne every now and then, but we're trying to get up to speed. We'll go through this quick 45 minutes, line by line. Just want to cover some of the key items that we saw last year. What we have here is the actual versus the approved budget. Obviously, there was some challenges in terms of some of the revenue on the youth side. What we wanted to just take a second to acknowledge, I know it's mentioned a couple of times, the added sponsorship that we did get this year from EA. That was a huge help, and it really helped finance some of the items that they're doing on the marketing side, and we'll explain that a little bit later. The Spring Academy was very well attended. Youth League,
and fall academy attendance was a little bit lower than expected. And I think Neil already mentioned that a little bit, the potential cause for that. Come on in. Adult soccer has been doing really great. I know that went through a lot of transitions during COVID. It was very challenging time during COVID, but then we transitioned 2 years ago into a more pickup style soccer game that really helped reinvigorate the attendance. And I know now it's been fairly good. I think we still have some challenges in terms of getting all 3 days filled out. People are very selective and everybody shows up on Tuesdays and Thursdays, but it's still improving a lot, and annual subscriptions have been fantastic, including the added bonus of now more actual programming plus women's soccer as well. And we also want to acknowledge the gaming grants, so the financial support of the province of British Columbia. And any questions that you guys might have about any of this stuff, please let me know. This is just a very quick summary, sort of pie graph, just showing sort of the percentages by revenue. And we just wanted to highlight some of the youth revenue, adult revenue, and operations. And youth revenue, there was a little bit of a challenging year last year. Youth revenue, it was picked up by the adult side, and the operations largely driven by the EA sponsorship I mentioned earlier. Expenses. Okay, so this is one of the biggest reasons why the club has been very successful from a financial standpoint has been this gentleman right here with a lot of support, a lot of volunteer work that he has put in over the years. It has really helped lower the large chunk of the admin costs over the years. And we did notice, obviously, this year advertising costs did increase significantly versus budget, but that was all paid for by the sponsorship of EA. And that was the whole point of it. The money was coming in and it had an immediate use, and we knew that the use of proceeds were going to be used for. TV, again, on the side was done by Neil. We did manage to hire somebody briefly. Unfortunately, that person couldn't stay with the club for personal reasons. So they were able to, but we are actively looking for somebody to take so that the club can be more independent, and we don't want to bother Neil to continue working in this job once his kids are past the program. We did mention some of the equipment costs, so those were quite a bit higher, 16,000 versus 10,000 budget. There was quite a few items that had to get replaced this year. There was, and what we're thinking now, potentially implementing some kind of sick programs or items that we know will deteriorate over a 2 to 3 year program, 2 to 3 year cycle. So we're working with Anita and Neil to see if we can create something to just give us a little bit more, a little bit of an easier management, because I think what happens is we kind of wait, and then we have an issue. All the balls are bad. Let's go and buy 30 balls, and that costs quite a bit of money, things like that. So the last item we just want to mention, the high board costs, admin fees, 5,000 versus 750 budget. This was largely driven by the fact that we had 2 audits last year for the year before in 2023. And those were lumped into board admin fees. So just wanted to highlight that. I think the other part of the fees was basically AGM or something like that. Just a couple of little events, but most of it is on the audit side, which we have to pay every year. The NSYSCA fees, they were also a little bit higher than the year before, and this was largely driven by the fact that it was 2 year for 2 years. Fees were paid for in 2024. The field P fees, I did include it for this year, even though they were technically paid in January. Just want to make sure that there's knowledge that those fees were there, and we were relatively on budget from an expense perspective, from a general expense perspective. And then obviously the savings were largely driven by the volunteer work that we get from volunteers on the team. Okay, proposed budget for 2025. So mini house, as Neil already mentioned, we're very grateful to see the attendance and so for the mini house programs. So we do believe that the future of the program is going to be in good hands. And we do see quite a bit of interest here in the Spring Academy, and we're hoping that we're going to have that going in 2025 as well. The new item, the BIFC merchandise, is another way to potentially add a little bit to the bottom line. All of these items last year was a good year, and we're hopefully will continue. We're being a little bit more conservative on that, but we also want to make sure that it is still all contributing to the bottom line and allows us to do what we want to do. Adult League annual program continues to be a success with the format, and we hope to have a similar update for next year, 2025, and I think hoping a little bit more of an uptick on that side.
Or exchange just on the merchandise, like we do sell this on cost.
Yep.
Plus some minor margin on it, just things like credit card fees and things like that. But, you know, it's probably not a money maker for us in the future, but our set when they're purchase of the next set. I think the intention of all this.
Thank you. The big item here is a capital investment, and this comes up to what you, I think, the idea last year. The club was able to save a lot of money, and we have to make sure that we allocate that money for something. So one of the big investments that we were going to make were these benches, in-ground benches for the club. So that has sort of been flagged as something that we hope to do in this year. I think it's still not firmed up how that's ultimately going to look like, but that is still, as a club, we're not going to be trying to make a profit. So we want to see if we can reinvest this money back into the club. And right now, that's how we have allocated those funds. Hope to use them. There's a couple of other investments that we'll do, including the benches and tents that we hope to amortize over 3 years. I think that's it. From an expense perspective, like I said, we want to make sure that we rely less on volunteer work to complete all of our work. Anita is obviously a critical part of the team, and she will continue to be, and luckily we have her, and she's been fantastic to work with. From my side, what we tried to do from an expense perspective is open things up, split things up a little bit more so that it's a little bit more. We've added a couple more columns to make sure that more items are identifiable and easier to track. From our perspective, a couple of highlighted items, again, capital expenditures and the admin cost of the TV position. That is still an unfilled position. We're actively looking to potentially hire somebody again for that. If you know anybody that you think would be a great fit, we'd love to hear from you. So that's still something that I think we want to do. We've only spent $1,800. Like I said, we only hired a person, and they were only able to stay for 2 months. We're looking to maintain an advertising presence in 2025, albeit at a lower pace than we did in 2024. But I think all the work that Andy and the team have done, it's important to continue that going in 2025 and actually really continue to build that online presence and otherwise. Capital expenditures on the longer term equipment, like we mentioned, there's going to be some tents, benches, and then 30 to 35K allocated for the in-ground benches on the turf field. Regular equipment expenditures are expected to decrease this year because we did spend quite a bit of money last year on those items. So that's why that number is, the allocation is quite a bit lower than the BIFC gear. And obviously we're projecting to not make any money this year. And we did allocate as well another $3,000 for the scholarship in 2020. Threw a lot of numbers at you, and I can sell a spreadsheet screenshot, but if you guys have any questions, here. And did I miss anything, or is there anything that you'd like to add? Awesome. And I think we can now.
Yep, so we just need a motion to approve the budget.
Seconded.
And if there's any questions, please feel free to reach out. I'm around. I have 3 kids, so we show up on the field quite a bit. Please let me know. Thanks.
Actually, guys, first. Alrighty, we're almost there. So last thing on the official agenda is the board elections for next year. So at the moment, so from a board perspective, we need a minimum of 5 board members. So this year we had 6. Anne is leaving us this year, but the 5 existing board members are going to stay on. So Andy, Boris, me, myself, and Rebecca are going to stay on. We have reached out a little bit. So Ryan Clancy, hopefully most people know Ryan, but Ryan's volunteered to join us on the board this year. And Jess Onka, Jess is on the meeting as well on the team. So Jess has actually offered to join the board as well. I'll open it up to see if anybody else is interested. What I did include at the top is, you know, I need to mention a few of them, but some of the areas that we'd like kind of board members to maybe take on. It's not mandatory or anything, but there's areas of interest. That if you have a particular area that you might think might help, these could be some of it. So things like events management, as Andy mentioned, like it takes time and work to manage volunteers to go to some of these events. We don't expect an events manager to go to all of these, but just somebody to manage volunteers. So things like the race around Bowen, Canada Day, Soccer Fest, you know, all these things take time and management, which falls on Anita today. But it'd be great to have somebody to kind of help and assist on that as well. And as Andy mentioned, sponsorship, you know, somebody who's willing to kind of build partnerships out there with some of the local companies as well. Equipment uniforms is a lot of work that's required year in, year out on that. So having somebody who's, you know, being able to help with things like inventory management, kind of purchase and planning and things like that as well. IT support, you know, I do a lot of this today, but you know, it's one thing to kind of get the website and things like that, but there's a lot of stuff that also happens from an IT support perspective, like managing the domains, managing the website platform itself, some of the email that we've got set up, Office 365 as well. If anybody's not interested in that, definitely looking to help share that knowledge. You know, doesn't even have to be an official board member. If there's a college student out there who's got an interest in IT, definitely help on some of this stuff as well. Soccer support, you know, before I kind of took on the TD role, I work with Morgan quite a lot from a governance perspective to help with the soccer side. So if Morgan's looking to kind of maybe introduce changes on the TD side, just want to get through the board and kind of help me on that. So, you know, if somebody's kind of got more of an interest on the soccer side, that's definitely something we can kind of use on the board as well. And last thing is just policies and bylaws. I had it on my plate to do last year, but didn't do it yet, but updating the actual constitution and bylaws. We did a little bit of work on it this year for the QSP to do some of our new policies that we have to have in place. But that's another area we need to kind of just tighten up on. Somebody's got a particular interest in going through some of that stuff, definitely can help. So there are some of the areas. As I said, we've got the 5 existing members starting for re-election with Jess and Ryan. I'll open it up. Anybody else kind of interested in their name in the hat? We can have up to 10 members on the board as well. I think this puts us at 7. We're going to get Jay to do some other work.
Yeah, I got lots already. I got lots of stuff to do. Worry about me.
Okay, so we'll leave it as it is for the moment. So we got the 7. We do need a motion to approve the 7 folks. So I'll go through it again. So Andy, Boris, Lee, Neil, Rebecca, Jess, and Ryan. Motion to approve. Second, have a vote on this one. 3 yeas. Any no's? Okay, approved. All right. I know we did Q&As during, but any questions anyone had for the board or? Three or 4, I think. So U13s, U11s, boys, U9s. You have another one? What are U10s? U10s. So 4.
it was funny because people were like.
Yeah, and more, I don't know what your experience with Surrey's been, like, you know, historic, I knew, like, the Surrey one's a tough one because, you know, Surrey's a big place.
Yeah.
And it's not like other tournaments, community-based tournaments like Swan, which has a very developed one that's April, I think, where everybody's together playing in one place. You get that sense you can watch other teams, other games. Surrey's spread out, and you play one side of Surrey in the morning and the other side of Surrey in the afternoon. So you don't really meet and get that sense.
tournament.
Yeah, it's rather long tournament, but it's just, yeah.
Yes.
But the, like, I've always been surprised that the no Bowen takes at the tournaments, especially the Women's Day one, but it was, which is sold out every year.
So one of the other challenges I find with Surrey is the end of the season. One of the challenges with tournaments is just one winner. And sometimes it's a bad way for kids to finish the season as well.
But the Bears Cup, there's no winners lower.
No, but if yeah, but if kids lose every game, it can be tough.
Well, a lot of the teams are select teams.
Yeah. So what I've seen with the hockey in the last couple of years that I've liked is the mid-season tournaments. It's a great way for teams to bond, get better, and enjoy a weekend. So maybe something that's more mid kind of season. So they might be other options. The other one we're looking at, I think the U10 girls and Ladybugs. There's one up in Sunshine Coast in June. But you know, June can be a little tough. But I like that idea of going up together as a group and you see all the other teams. And, yeah. Exactly. And you know, nothing against Morgan. I kind of prefer support the smaller communities. You know, something like that, particularly in this kind of such a close as one I'd be kind of interested in. But definitely, if there's mid-season ones, I think they're great ideas.
I would definitely recommend the Remembrance Day one, the girls games. It's 10,000.
Yep.
5 teams. Monday, and
yeah.
But that, yeah, there's
Yeah.
shootouts and then it's small sided.
Yeah, there's the one.
Teams, so it's like a huge ring.
Yeah, I know North Shore Girls, I think, do one over Christmas as well. So little ones like that, I think, are nice ideas.
Most feeling talent, like, most feeling like we counting.
So everyone, in case people do not know, we do have a new professional soccer team. Right, sorry. Anyway, rise, yes. So anyway, the recruiting game is the 16th of April. And then they'll play that at whatever. But then normally they play sport. Yeah. They have quiz playing, so like that's their.
What time are they attending?
Some of them are at 4, and some of them are at 7. If anyone wants to go, I do have
If you want to go.
League One, and there's League One, which, yeah.
And so Abby will think we're going to BIFC on Sunday at 2:15 for the West. I'll be there. After any months we leave for the BIFC on just call to job coaching. Thanks a lot. Thank you. And Lee.
Any other questions?
I've just got one comment.
Right, Stefan. Does everybody know Stefan and Susan? Stefan and Susan are coming out for big members of the adult soccer league. Both of them try to come out fairly regularly, once or twice a week as well.
So I've got some nostalgia for the old pre-pandemic days when we were like 7 teams. So if you're going to try something like that, maybe it'll help boost the numbers. But the other thought I had, just in talking to various people, I played basketball as well and hockey, floor hockey, and just talking to people. Some people say, "Oh, those guys are too good for me when I'm watching them play," right? And there's some great players that come out, and I don't know if we made one night like more of a adult rec and then 2 nights adult competitive.
Yeah.
Could you get a different market out?
Yeah, it's one thing we looked at as well, and I may actually do that as well, that, it's a balance. When we asked last year about doing competitive, we actually got more feedback that people prefer the pickup style. So it's that balance. So that's where sometimes we're looking to do maybe say 6 weeks of pickup and then like 4 weeks of a mini tournament type of thing as well. So you get a big mix. Or potentially do, as you say, maybe do 2 nights as just regular pickup and do like 1 night where we could actually do 2 games in a night. So you can have 4 competitive teams that, those guys or girls could kind of just go at it on those nights as well. So there's a few options, and if you want to kind of help out, Connor and Matt and Byron are definitely looking for feedback.
I know Susan would love to see some girls out too. So often it's
it's a tough one. We have the women's soccer night as well, and unfortunately, some of the women have been intimidated because of that level at the adult, and that's why it's kind of dropped down a little bit, and they've gone to a dedicated night as well.
And it definitely is something that we're trying to do, is make sure that every person on the island, regardless of ability, feels that they have a place that they can play. I think numbers ultimately are key. Like we will look to put on virtually any program. We just need to help you drive to make sure that people are there. But 100%,
yeah, we did a few years ago when numbers were bigger. We did do the league and the rec, the 2 separate ones, and there's a little bit of a mix. People were a little confused, I think, between it, and I just don't think we had the numbers to kind of split it out enough.
Are they different signups now?
Yeah.
Different programs.
But you can still do both if you want.
Yeah.
Pickle soccer. Pickle soccer.
To Stefan's point, I was just wondering if we had a different sign up, whether that would be less intimidating. Wednesdays, the night we don't have a lot of numbers, always we called that, I don't know, co-ed rec league, and then Mondays and Thursdays were a separate registration competitive. So maybe that might get
Potentially, the problem is if you dilute it too much and have many different programs, it's hard to get people to sign up as a whole as well, or get enough numbers for each program. But the flip side of that then is you may get somebody sign up who doesn't want to sign up for the whole 3 nights a week part of adult as well. So but there's options. We're only at the start of the season, so we can change it throughout the year as well. Whether it's part of the 10-week session, we modify it, or dedicate 1 night to something maybe a little bit different. 1 night could be walking soccer.
We started the league a few years ago, right? And Bruce and I had been on an adult tournament on Denman Island, and loved it. It was Bowen. We coached during the week there with kids, and then there was an adult thing, and we played in it. And for some reason, and maybe we can talk on this as well, but for some reason, what I don't understand is that there's a lot of younger families that are here now, right? And I'm almost 60. But when we started this, and we were all playing, it was all couples, right? Like Rose and Sean, Morgan and Joe, or like Stu and Ellie, like
The Wilsons, the Sparlings.
And Stu and Dee, and they're all still here, they're all out of years old. So I find it interesting that that dynamic wasn't able to be maintained. And I would argue that the league was probably better. I haven't played in a couple of years, but 15 years ago, believe it or not, that kind of thing was what's that? Well, kids came out and watched. The kids all coached. We coached all the kids. Yeah, I mean, pulling down to like 6 and 7 and 8 and all the grades, whatever. All the kids were out. And the co-ed games, we had 100. We had 120 players, and we had 12 teams of 10 players. So I don't really know. And I mean, there's a lot of stuff that's going on, but I don't know what happened in regards, especially on the women's side. We had a women's team. I coached the women's team for a few years, and we had a lot of women involved, and they all played in the league, and they played with their husbands, and I don't know what happened, to be honest with you.
It became a victim of its own success. It was so popular that higher level players started to come that weren't a family or something like that. And so the level gets up, and then when the level gets up, there's like me and the cat, like just stand by as a 60-year-old tries to run that, you have to like step in and so the game got hotter and higher, and I think that made it harder.
So I want to keep trying to act competitive, isn't it?
Exactly.
That's the sweet.
It's a hard balance.
It did get to the point where we were dealing with like discipline issues and stuff.
Yeah.
Like that, and, way more set.
Yeah.
And just hating computer.
But, you know, even when we look at the adult members today, there's very few other than Susan, where there is couples as well. Like, I think some of the demographics have changed over the years as well. But there's also, there's a lot of options. Well, but Stefan mentioned it as well, you know, he's in basketball, he's doing inline. There's a lot of other sports out there now. I think that's kind of taking away potentially some of that as well. And I think some of it's the competitiveness, some of the women are maybe intimidated by it a little bit, standard as well.
But I think we're not looking for excuses, that we're looking for families to push those people.
I'm just curious as to what changed in regards to like, you know, kind of like why people that are 20 years younger than me are no one from. So
I think there's also some cultural changes. You know, even I think the time of day, there's a reason why softball there is covered, because they can bring their kids with them. 7 o'clock is fun. I know for me, it would be even hard to leave.
the kids would all play in the playground. I mean, there'd be like 30, 40 kids playing in the playground. I mean, that would be, they brought their kids when they were 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Again, I just don't know what happened. I saw it over the years slowly diminish, but with how many young families have moved there, I'm just surprised that it hasn't captured again. Maybe like you say, Boris, maybe that's just change. Maybe it's just how people spend their evenings or.
I think it's good feedback though, and you know, even around how the setups are run. I think, you know, we'll continue to explore what's best and how we can get more people into the groups. You know, and all people like that is absolutely welcome. We'll take that on and we'll see what we can do.
Righty. Any other questions? Thanks, Stefan. Alrighty, we'll close out the meeting here. I think, Jess, thanks for joining. I don't know whether you can hear us okay, but welcome to the board.